Howdy YouTube, Darlington Farm here. Well, one of you guys was asking if I still had my red face. So, yeah, I still have it. It's just hanging out back over here. I got it on some pipe stands. I've actually been using it to do some TIG welding. Not really for any particular reason, but mainly just to put some hours on it here. I don't run this in my white truck very often because if you put it sideways behind the cab there, you have to cut a hole in the bed, and I'm not willing to cut a hole in the bed on my new truck. So until that truck gets a flat bed, it's probably not going to hang out on there very much. And also this morning, I have been working on my SAE 300. This is a 2018 SAE 300 HE. This has the little Perkins turbo diesel in it, a really cool little motor. Right there, little bitty turbo. Right there. And anyway, yeah, so I had some sludge in the tank that I had to deal with. So I bought this in I guess I can kind of explain the origin story of buying that machine. So I ran the 302 behind me over here on that white truck, and I started having some weird issues with it. It turned out it was just some junk in the carburetor. Well, not carburetor because it's propane in the whatever you call the propane carburetor there. But I was having a good year there, so I ended up buying a 325 diesel, brand new one, bought it from Indiana Oxygen, and it ran good for the first couple months, and then I started having all kinds of weird software issues with it. I'd have to keep the firmware on a USB stick in the car. You know, anytime it would act up, I just have to reload the firmware. And so I ended up just deciding, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and sell this. And I got sick of having, like I said, the electronic problems there. So I bought this 300, which is just a constant current output. So it doesn't do all the fancy stuff that I really need, but I just was so sick of dealing with the electronics issues that I bought this one, because it basically has no electronics other than the governor for the engine. And ran it for a while, but I was in a hurry when I bought it, and I bought it from a pipeliner down in Tennessee, but it had a bunch of gnarly fuel in it, and right there, so when I got it, this was all full of rust. This filter was all full of rust, and I didn't take the time to go ahead and take the tank off, power wash it out. And I just kept changing the filters over and over and over again there. It didn't really occur to me until I was picking up more filters for it yesterday that every time you do that, it's like 30 bucks. And so about every 20 to 50 hours, you'd have to change the filters on it, because they'd start loading up with junk. And it just wasn't the right way to do it. So last night I got a wild hair and decided to go ahead and pull the tank off of it. I've got a hot water pressure washer over here, so I just took the tank off and power washed it out. There's that washer. That guy is nice for stuff like that, but it puts out like 180-degree water. Got all the funk and sludge and crap out of the bottom. There's a lot of rust in it, so I'm guessing somebody got some fuel from like an old farm tank or something that was all rusty. So got all that crap out of there, and so got it back together this morning and figured I would show you guys the inside of the welder here. So this is the SAE one, which is neat. So instead of like a 200 there, you have a continuously variable output for your current. And then typically setting this machine, I will just go ahead and 60, anywhere between like 40 and 60 is a good starting point. And so I'll usually just leave it somewhere in there and then vary my current over here. So like that's a good spot right there for 1/8" 70/18s, maybe a little hot. And then say if you're wanting to run 1/8" 60/10s, I kind of go about there, kind of just depending, if I'm trying to get in a good root pass, I'll go up to about there somewhere. But it's nice because it lets you kind of play around and, different. It's been an interesting machine. I like it also because it is short enough to where the newer ones, the newer ones with the 3-cylinder motors have a shorter exciter down there, so that will actually fit sideways in the truck without having to do any modifications. It just drops right in there, so that is really nice, where you don't have to mess with angling it down or cutting a hole in the side of the bed or any of that stupidity. You just fit it in there and it goes. So far it's been really reliable. I bought it with about 1,600 hours on it, and I'm just about to roll over 2,000. So, you know, I'm not a real super heavy user of one of these, but kind of when I do use it, I need it. Anyway, yeah, so we'll probably fire this guy up here and do some welding with it. But also, my 302 here, a buddy of mine is renting it for a while, so I got it out yesterday, changed the oil in it, and while I had it apart, I thought I would show you the inside of a 302. This is Kohler CH20S motor. This one has just over 1,000 hours on it, and I went ahead and just preemptively replaced the capacitors and the power card in there. And then I was having a weird throttle issue with it, and ended up just replacing the control board and the power board at the same time. So basically it should be pretty new at this point, but it's been a good machine. You know, the propane one you don't run that often, but kind of when you do need it, you know, you're working in a building or something like that, and you know, typically a lot of places like that will not allow you to run like a gas. And it's nice if you're way in a building where you can just go ahead and stick that in there and run it and not have to dick with running leads everywhere. And then on my truck here, this is a 2019 Miller Pro 400, and this one also is just about ready to turn over. No, I take that back. It's just rolled over 1,000 hours. So we're at 1,017 hours. This one has the Kubota, and it's been pretty good. I cannot argue with it at all. I've never had a single issue, a single hiccup, anything. Really, the only thing that I can complain about this machine is it's a little underpowered. If you're, say, welding at about 200 amps off of the machine, say like 3/16, 80/10, and then you have another guy running an XMT off of the auxiliary power on it, you can hear it bog down. Doesn't really have enough power to run two guys running 3/16 rods. You need to have either just have one guy running 3/16 and 532, but anyway, that's my only complaint with it. I would have rather had that Perkins turbo, or they call it a cat when it's in the Miller here. Anyway, but I can't argue. Great machine, great on fuel. Both of these will only run about 1/4 gallon an hour. So, you know, for the work I do typically, I'm just TIG welding, and so I can run all day off 2 to 3 gallons of fuel. And then my only other complaint is if you were working off the tailgate, this guy blows heat back towards you. Because like, unlike the Lincoln there that just kind of blows straight out, it kind of blows all the, or the fins direct all the hot air down, and it blows all that hot air back at you, which that sucks if you're working off the tailgate here and it's hot out. Like, it just blows all that hot air at you. So those are really the only two things I can complain about this machine. I wish they would come up with a grill back here that the fins are directed up, say if you're mounted in a truck like this. But definitely been a really good machine. So anyway, I got a little bit of fuel in this guy here I dumped in there, so we'll go ahead and fire up the 300 here and do a little bit of welding with it.